So we now have a session by NRSC Director Dr.Prakash Chouwhan, sir. Exploring new frontiers in space, empowering Earth with science. Dr. Chouwhan has been instrumental in advancing Indian space research, particularly in the area of remote sensing technologies. His leadership at NRC has helped leverage satellite data for a wide range of applications, from disaster management to environmental monitoring, significantly contributing to national development and global scientific process. We are truly honored to have Dr. Prakash Chouwhan, sir, with us today. Please invite to him the dais.
So they can put it here. How much time? Okay, we'll close that. Okay, good afternoon to you all. How are you? All of you are still in a mood to listen to some stories about space? Very good. First and foremost, let me pay my, regards to Dr. Kalam on his 93rd birth anniversary, for which today we are celebrating at this beautiful hall, and all of you have, gathered here. All of you know that this day is celebrated as World Students' Day. United Nations has declared October 15th to be celebrated as World Students' Day in the fond memory of Dr. APJ Kalam. So today all of you, the student community, all of you are here and we are celebrating this function. And thank you for the Kalam Institute for igniting these young minds and doing this wonderful program over here. So friends, in next 15-20 minutes what I will do, can you see these slides here? So how many of you have heard about India's space program? All of you know about space program? How many of you know about Chandrayaan? Okay, I can see a lot of hands. How many of you heard about Mangalyaan? All of you have heard. How many of you have heard about ResourceSat satellite? Very few. How many of you have heard about Navik constellation? Very few. So, since all of you know about Chandrayaan, all of you know about Mangalyaan, but some of you don't know about the missions which ISRO is doing to know our own planet or the planet Earth. See, we are living in a planet Earth. It is our mother planet. So we want to know more about neighbors. Who is our neighbor? Moon is our closest neighbor, 384,000 kilometers away. Mars is our another planet, neighborly planet. This side we have Venus. And then we have, so many, other small planets and the far-off planets are there. 9 planets in the solar system. So everybody is interested to know about neighbors. But before knowing about neighbors, we should also know about ourselves. So ISRO also do large amount of work to know and to create information as well as provide lot of support services for sustainable development and development of our own country by sending large amount of satellites to know about Earth, to provide services like your positioning service, what we call as P&T service, position, navigation, and then your location services. So like your GPS system, we have our own system called Navik system. And then we also do large amount of satellite-based communication services. So what I will do in next 20 minutes, I will tell you that how these satellites, which are launched by space organizations in India by ISRO, how they are helping our society's development and how they are helping, large amount of activities on the planet Earth itself. Next slide. So, moving towards space ubiquity. What does it mean? It means that whatever activity you are doing today on Earth, there is somewhere hidden hand of space is there. You may not know that you are using space technology, but in daily life, you are using space technology for doing many things. How many of you withdraw money from your ATMs? Please raise your hand. So all of you are drawing money from ATM. You know your ATM, even if you are going to a village, you know, it works, it gives you cash. How does that transaction happens? You know, from your ATM machine, if you just carefully monitor, there is a VSAT antenna, very small satellite terminal antenna on a ATM, you know, shop or ATM, wherever it is installed. And then as soon as you do transaction, the communication, the signal is sent to a satellite, which is around 36,000 kilometers away from the surface of Earth. This type of satellites are called geostationary satellites. They continuously look over India. So we have put such satellites. So from VSAT, the signal goes to a satellite, and then from satellite, it gets relayed to your server of your bank, which may be in Mumbai, or which may be in Calcutta, or which may be in Delhi. So all these things happens in fraction of time, because the signal is traveling with speed of light. And that's how all of you are using space technology even to do a basic function like withdrawing money from your ATMs. All of you are watching direct to home television. All these hundreds or 200s of television channels every day in different languages, they all come to your home through a small dish antenna. This also happens through a satellite-based communication. When you are going, when I was coming from NRSC Hyderabad, Balanagar to this place, you know, if I am new to the city, I have to use a Google map or some, you know, mapping service, which can give me the location. This location also, your position in your mobile is also located through the help of space technology. You are using mostly the GPS constellation, and this GPS constellation is an American constellation. There are more than 20 satellites continuously providing signals, and there is a receiver in your mobile phone which receives minimum 4 satellite signals, and it gives your position, latitude, longitude, and your height from the mean sea level. This service is called PNT service. Okay? So, going from one place to another place, today we are using satellite technology. India has its own version of GPS. It's called Navik, constellation of satellites. 8 satellites, which are basically also providing these PNT services. Now, Government of India has made mandatory to use Navik-enabled chips in the mobiles which are being manufactured in India. So very soon you will get both GPS signal as well as the Navik signal in your mobile phones. So this is another example that ubiquitously or knowing or unknowingly you are using space technology in your life. The third example I will show is what we call as Earth observation satellites or remote sensing satellites. What is remote sensing? You are seeing me? Are you people able to see me or not? Are you able to hear my voice? There is a big distance between each of one of us. So we are remotely seeing each other. We are remotely hearing each other. But if I have to find my own body's temperature, or somebody is your mother or father, if you have a fever, they will touch your hand and then they will find out that you have some fever. So it's not remote sensing. It is basically getting information by coming in contact of a person. So any information which we get by coming without contact to any object is known as remote sensing. So we are all doing remote sensing right now. But this remote sensing can also be done from putting sensors on satellites. We can put cameras on satellites and we can get images of Earth's surface in different part of electromagnetic spectrum. So today we have satellites which can make measurements of 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter object, a very small object. We can see from space around 500 kilometers away. So what does it happens? Next slide, can you show? So Earth observation, satellite communication, and navigation. These are the 3 sisters which are there in space, which are helping our life to become easier. by providing navigation service, by providing communication, information flow, and also doing remote sensing to find out what is happening in your neighborhood. Suppose if I want to know how Hyderabad used to look 20 years back, how many buildings which has come up in last 20 years in Hyderabad, how do I know? So we have got satellite images of last 20 years over Hyderabad city. And we have got recent images over Hyderabad city. We can compare and we can see that how the Hyderabad has grown. How many of you have heard a entity's name nowadays very popular in your local newspaper, something called Hydra. How many of you have heard of Hydra? Yeah, a lot of people are about Hydra. So what Hydra is doing? Hydra is trying to now rejuvenate the lakes of Hyderabad. Many of the lakes in Hyderabad, they have been encroached upon by a lot of people. And then some lakes are basically, constructions, etc., has happened. How do they know that this was part of original lake? Come to NRSC, National Remote Sensing Center. So they are all coming to us and they are asking us that, tell me in 1960, 1970, 1980, how much was this lake? This lake was very good at that time. It was full of water. But in between some lafda has happened. And that lafda we can catch. And then we can tell that in this year, this problem has happened. So this is how the satellite technology is providing you large amount of information for governance. And this is all done through remote sensing. Next slide. Next. So, we are aspiring to become, Viksit Bharat by 2047. And by 2047, if we have to become Viksit Bharat, there are many challenges we are facing. And to overcome all these challenges, we have to use space technology. And this space technology-based systems today, I am just going to tell you that how they are helping us. Next slide. Next. So today, India is operating around 55, satellites. And these 55 satellites are providing Earth observation or remote sensing capabilities. They are providing 18 communication satellites are there, as well as 8 navigation satellites are there. And then we also have satellites for space science activities. We have satellites like Chandrayaan, Aditya L1, as well as, other satellites. So, total roughly 55 satellites are there in the space today, which are providing very valuable services, both communication service, navigation service, as well as the remote sensing services for doing various tasks. Next slide, please. So, these satellites have large amount of applications, which some of the examples I gave you. So, you have applications in agriculture, you have applications for understanding the changes by the climate, you have applications in defense, security, as well as, finding out sources of renewable energy. And then host of the things today are being done by the satellite technology. Next slide, please. Next, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so this is how a satellite high-resolution image looks like. Some of you, can you identify that building, that round building? That is our parliament, the old parliament, and then we have got recently the new parliament. So both the parliaments you can see, this is one of the high-resolution satellite image taken by India's Cartosat satellite system. And the satellite is so powerful, you can see on that road, small, the cars and all the small vehicles which are going on this, Rashtrapati Bhavan road. So this is the kind of technology which is available today for providing information from remote sensing satellites. Next slide, please. Can you identify these two things? These are all, the stacks of a thermal power plant. So this is the kind of 30 centimeter imaging system we have today from the satellites of India. And these are the details which are coming not by your, drones. They are coming basically from satellites, and satellites have capability to provide data anywhere in the world. So with this type of capability, if I want to know what is happening across borders or, in some other countries, that is how, you get information from the remote sensing data sets. Next slide. Can we see through clouds? See, whenever there are clouds, using optical remote sensing or optical sensors, we cannot see through. But over India, most of the time during monsoon, there are clouds. So you need technologies which can see through clouds. So there are sensors called synthetic aperture radars. These radars can penetrate clouds, and then using these imaging technologies, we can see through clouds also. So this is a beautiful structure called Eye of Africa. You can see that round structure, and these radars can also penetrate. So below the surface of Earth also you can get some information. This is, the other image is the Maldives actually. So you can see all the runways, strips, oceans using this radar technology. Next slide. So these are all some two-dimensional images of Earth. So not only you get the plain two-dimensional images using satellites, we can also get the third dimension, or the perception of the height also can be achieved. And this is called the digital elevation model. So using our Cartosat series of satellites, we have created the third dimension of entire India in a digital domain. And this entire data is available to us. I will show you one particular video where, sitting in Hyderabad, I will take you to the Himalayas and I will give you the virtual darshan of Gangotri, and you all will be seeing the Gangotri glacier. Next slide, please. Okay, so now we are flying over river Bhagirathi. And then we are approaching, this is the river, and these are the mountain systems around Bhagirathi river. And this place called Gomukh, this is the place from where the Ganga originates. And now we are flying over the Gangotri glacier. Glacier is an ice mass from where, the ice basically melts and water starts trickling down. For young people, you should know that how water gets produced in these rivers. And now this is how a glacier looks like. And these are the higher regions of the glacier, Kirti glacier. And then you have this white snow, this is fresh snow. So glacier is formed by accumulation of snow over a long period of time. Thousands of years it has taken for this glacier to form. And slowly with, the heat, it melts and it produces water. And this water becomes so large that a mighty river like Ganga is created in Himalayas. So this is the beauty of remote sensing, that sitting over here in this, beautiful auditorium, I can take you and I can give you a virtual darshan of Gangotri glacier. Isn't it amazing? So you should have some, appreciation for this technology. So this is how Indians today are creating virtual, digital twins of all landforms in your laboratory. So this is not only a beautiful animation, this is being used for doing large amount planning. You can find out the slopes of these hills. If you have to carve a road in the hill, you can make those measurements sitting in your laboratory, and then you can plan a hill. If you have to put certain telecommunication towers in these hilly areas, you can do a line of sight surveys and plan all those things. So all this beautiful satellite data, along with this third dimensional information, is being used for a lot of developmental activities all across India. That is the big contribution of India's space program. So that's what I wanted to tell, that you all must know that other than Chandrayaan, other than Mangalyaan, how we are helping our own Earth and our own country to get developed using space technology. Next slide, please. So today, space is being used for not only developmental activity to provide water security, food security, shelter, governance, disaster management. In all these areas, there are big applications. I will show very quickly few examples so that all you young students can appreciate that what I am going to talk. Next slide. So like agriculture. Agriculture is a big area where space data is currently being used. How many of you know that which are the states in which maximum rice production happens in India? Very difficult question. Rice happens in Telangana also, in Andhra also, but rice happens in Tamil Nadu also for southern states. But maximum rice is being grown in a state where people don't eat rice. They eat only chapati. So maximum rice production is happening in Punjab and then in Haryana. How do we know it? So using these satellite images, today I have a technology, I can map this year's Kharif rice production on a national basis. And I will show you that image. Next slide. Look at this particular image of India. All that yellow regions, all that yellow things which I have marked is the rice production areas. This is last year's rice production area, which we have mapped using synthetic aperture radar during the Kharif season, which can see through clouds. So we can see through clouds and we can map the paddy plantations over a period of time. And you could see the entire Punjab is yellow, Haryana is yellow, UP is yellow, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, and in south, there are certain patches which are only yellow. So these are the rice growing areas. The green areas are the forest. They are permanent forest covers. So India has around 23% of forest cover, which we also map every 2 years using satellite technology. So this is how we are accounting the natural resources of the country. How much forest is there? How much rice is there? How much wheat is growing? And all these inputs are very important for government, for import, exports, and then taking very vital decisions. If I have come to know advance that rice production is going to be less in the country, what I will do? I will stop the export of rice that year. And I will create strategies to bring some rice into the country. And that information, operationally, 11 crops in India are today being mapped using satellite technologies. So this is the big contribution of space in terms of policy planning for agriculture things. Next slide. Another very important aspect for farmers we are doing now, most of the farmers are being given crop insurance. See what happens, some flooding has happened, some extreme rain has happened, farmers have lost their crops. How do we know that how much crop has been lost? You cannot go everywhere, the insurance guy will not go to all the places and see. So today they are using these satellite images to find out that which area in which maximum damage to the crops have happened, and based on that they make an assessment and solve the insurance claims of the farmer. There is a national level program done by Ministry of Agriculture which does all this activity in India. Similarly, agriculture हो गया, खाना मिल गया, खाना के साथ पानी भी जरूरी है. Without water, nothing happens. So water is basically governing the entire country. And there are a lot of water wars are also happening. There are states in India, you have the famous rivalry of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu fighting for water. How much water is there in our rivers? How much water we have in our reservoirs? How do we know? It's a huge country. There is no other way than knowing by using space technology that how much water availability is there in Indian rivers during monsoon, post-monsoon or pre-monsoon. So we have made big arrangements. There is a national level programs which are doing water accounting in India using space technology and ground-based observations under National Hydrology Program. Next slide. So this is what we call as the water dashboard. For all major reservoirs in India, we are providing every 15 days how much water is available. Last year, there was a problem in Benguluru. Many of you know that Bangalore suffered a lot of water crisis. And Bangalore get the maximum water from this reservoir. It's called Krishna Sagar Raj Reservoir. So on 28th August and then on 27th March, you can see that blue color, how much it has shrunk. So almost 50% less water was available for the reservoir which was giving water to Bangalore city. And this is how, the information starts coming. And then this information was available with the water managers of Bangalore city, and they started making other arrangements, so that at least city starts getting continuous flow of water. So this is how for entire country these water dashboards are there today, and they provide information. Next slide. If you go to Rajasthan, how many of you have gone to Rajasthan, students? So Rajasthan is a desert area. In desert, you don't get water. Even surface water is not there. Rivers are not there. But there are some rivers, or there are certain signatures which used to be paleo rivers. That means historically, in thousands years back, some river used to flow. And those channels are called paleo channels or old river channels. So we identify such old river channels on satellite images, and then we pinpoint and do some surveys there so that, groundwater, which can be used to provide water to the villagers, the availability of groundwater is maximum. So this is one such example where you can see that particular area, which is a paleo channel. We can identify that paleo channel because it has some vegetation on it. And then we do a survey, and then we find out at what depth water is available. So this is how, the examples of water availability are there. Next slide. Similarly, for entire Himalaya, we monitor the snow cover and find out how much snow melts and how much water is available in the Himalayan rivers. Next. Next slide. Next. We can go to the next slide. Yeah, this is another big example of lakes. Last year in Sikkim, one lake has got burst. It is called Glof. And we could monitor that, what happened to that lake and how much water got spilled out of that lake. Next slide. Next. We can quickly. This is how we can map that how solar power plants are coming up in India. This is using a machine learning technique. You can see the blue dots. All these blue dots are basically showing the installed solar power plants in India. And to your surprise, people think in Rajasthan or in Gujarat you have maximum solar capacity, but maximum solar plants of 10 hectares and more are in Telangana. Telangana is a leader in solar power generation. This is the data which comes out from space technology. Next slide. So, 3 cheers for Telangana. Okay, next is floods or disaster. Next slide. So we can map how the floods are happening. This year there were extensive floods in Vijayawada and all. So using satellite technology, we can map the floods also. Next. And then cyclones. This cyclone, there is a cyclone today around Chennai. So using satellite images, we can also, make measurements how the cyclones are progressing and which area cyclone is going to hit and how much rain is going to happen. I will conclude in 2 minutes by just saying that. Next slide. Keep on rolling. Okay. I think it's not going further. What I want to say, these are some of the examples of how space technology is today has improved our life and how the space sector is providing a lot of opportunities to the youngsters. Last year, Government of India has announced a new space policy and they have allowed the private sector participation. And I will tell you, in last 2.5 years, more than 200 space startups have started. They are launching now rockets, they are building satellites, they are doing this type of application services. And maximum number of startups are there in Hyderabad city. Hyderabad, if you go, there are companies which are making 3D printed rockets. There are companies which are making small satellite systems. There are companies which are basically doing this kind of ground-based applications. So more than 150 startups are there in Hyderabad and surrounding areas. And this is the new era of geospatial or space technology which is going to be available to our youngsters like we had the IT revolution. Similarly, this space revolution is knocking our door. So all you young guys, you mark my words that many of you can explore, your potentials, your career opportunities in the young startup companies which are basically making space as their own, career paths. So this is one message I want to give, and I want to leave at this place that with the opening of space sector, there are plenty of opportunities available in space sector for young people to grow, to create, to innovate, and to earn and to make our country pride. Thank you very much for all your attention.
Questions we are running out. Thank you so much, Dr. Prakash Chouwhan ji, Director NRSC. Guys, Hyderabad ka. Thank you so much, sir ji. So I'm happy to announce that blessings of Chairman ISRO and directions with Director NRSC. KIYE is going to, educate 1 million children mixing with, rural and urban about space and space technologies. Now, very soon, it is very happy news for KIYE and all the rural youth of Telangana. We are going to educate 1 million children. We don't charge anything, beta. గట్టిగా చప్పట్లు కొట్టండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ సర్జీ. స్పేస్ ఆన్ వీల్స్తో నీకు అక్కడ పెట్టారు, మీరు వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు తప్పకుండా చూడాలి బిడ్డ. థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్ సర్జీ. థ్యాంక్ యూ. నా మై రిక్వెస్ట్, ప్రకాష్ చౌహాన్ జీకి. సో నౌ ఫ్రెండ్స్,